Welcome to our podcast today. We appreciate you joining us and hope that you'll find this interesting. Today, we are going to be discussing materials that are found in Ether 12 through 15. Typically, it would have been 12 through 15 plus Moroni 1 through 6. But I'm going to hold off on the entire book of Moroni, all 10 chapters, and discuss them in our last podcast next time we meet. So today, Ether 12 through 15. And I'll reiterate how important I think the book of Ether really is. There's so many unique features to the book that I hope you'll find today's discussion interesting. I've selected 3 specific subjects of interest that I'd like to expand upon. The first thing I want to discuss is the simple but elusive subject of hope. Hope. Within our assigned reading of chapters 12 through 15, Moroni addresses hope. I'm going to go over a little sentence structuring with you and highlight a few things relative to this subject. In Ether, chapter 12, verse 6, it says, "And now I, Moroni, would speak somewhat concerning these things." Well, what things is it that Moroni is alluding to? If you back up a verse or two in Ether, chapter 12, verse 4, we find, "Wherefore, whosoever believeth in God might with surety hope for a better world, yea, even a place at the right hand of God, which hope cometh of faith, maketh an anchor to the souls of men, which would make them sure and steadfast, always abounding in good works, being led to glorify God." So Moroni is speaking of hope for a better world and hope to be at the right hand of God. Now back to Moroni 12:6. "I would show unto the world that faith is things hoped for and not seen." So Moroni is now interchanging the word hope for faith. This scripture could easily be read, "I would show unto the world that hope is things that you have faith in that are not seen." You could easily interchange the word faith and hope. Now continuing with verse 6, "Wherefore dispute not because ye see not, for ye receive no witness until after the trial of your faith," or hope. It tells us that if we're to have hope, it's going to have to be tested. There's going to have to be a trial of our hope or our faith. So continuing on with verse 9, it says, "Wherefore ye may also have hope and be partakers of the gifts." So if you have this trialed faith or hope, then you get to have the gifts. So what gifts is it that Moroni is talking about? Well, we'll go back to verse 8, and it says, "The heavenly gifts, that they might hope for those things they have not seen." And then this little exercise kind of concludes with verse 9, "Wherefore you may also hope and be partakers of the gifts, if you will but have faith." That's the heavenly gifts. I conclude from this scriptural sentence restructuring of sorts that we've done that hope and faith are actually very, very similar. Perhaps extended or lengthy hope or faith becomes a belief. For me, it's a little easier to put my arms around hope than it is faith. Hope seems to be in the now, whereas faith seems to be a little ambiguous, and it's hard to know exactly when you have it or when you don't have it. We hope for things every day. We hope for better weather. We hope that our car starts in the morning of a cold winter day. We hope that the stock market will continue to climb. So when does hope and faith become interchangeable? Because in this case, obviously, they would not be. Hope and faith become blended together when the things that you're hoping for or have faith in are relative to eternal perspective. The eternal perspective. A good example is taken from the primary song, "I Hope They Call Me on a Mission." I hope they call me on a mission when I have grown a foot or two. I hope by then I will be ready to teach and preach and work as missionaries do. I hope that I can share the gospel with those who want to know the truth. I want to be a missionary and serve and help the Lord while I'm in my youth. Well, our hope, our faith cannot stand alone. If we truly are hoping for or have faith in something, we must do as this song suggests. I hope by then I will be ready to teach and preach. I hope that I can share the gospel with those who want to know the truth. Again, this suggests that our hope or faith will have to be tried. We must be ready. After study, pondering, and prayer, we must look for that revelatory moment when our faith or our hope becomes a belief. A belief is a firm, unshaken conviction that becomes literally a part of you. Then you become partakers of the heavenly gifts that are alluded to. It is through hope and faith that Jesus Christ showed himself after his death to a few who had developed a belief in him. This is how Christ selected his apostles of old. Again, we're talking the hope and the faith. This is how miracles continue today. This is the reason the prison walls tumbled, freeing Alma and Amulek. This is why Ammon had such a great miracle wrought among the Lamanites. This is how the 3 Nephite disciples obtained the promise of not suffering death. This is how the brother of Jared saw the finger of God. And this is how the brother of Jared moved the mountain Zerin. And this is how Moroni saw Christ. Ether 12:39. And then shall ye know that I have seen Jesus, and that he hath talked with me face to face, and that he told me in plain humility, even as a man telleth another, in mine own language concerning these things. Hope and faith. Let me now turn to Ether chapter 13. This chapter in the Book of Mormon discusses and addresses the concept or the phrase, the New Jerusalem. I'm going to do some scripture reading with me. You can follow along if you would like, but I want you to pay attention of what I have bold-faced and underlined. So we're going to start in Ether chapter 13. And it says, For behold, they rejected all the words of Ether, for he truly told them of all things from the beginning of man, and that after the waters had receded from off the face of the land, it became a choice land above all other lands, a chosen land of the Lord. Wherefore the Lord would have that all men should serve him who dwell upon the face thereof, and that it was the place of the New Jerusalem, which should come down out of heaven, and the holy sanctuary of the Lord. Behold, Ether saw the days of Christ, and he spake concerning a New Jerusalem built upon this land. And he spake also concerning the house of Israel, and the Jerusalem from whence Lehi should come, after it should be destroyed, it should be built up again, a holy city unto the Lord. Wherefore it could not be a new Jerusalem, for it had been in a time of old. But it should be built up again and become a holy city of the Lord, and it should be built unto the house of Israel. And that a new Jerusalem should be built upon this land, unto the remnant of the seed of Joseph, for which thing there has been a type. For as Joseph brought his father down into the land of Egypt, even so he died there. Wherefore the Lord brought a remnant of the seed of Joseph out of the land of Jerusalem, that he might be merciful unto the seed of Joseph, that they should perish not, even as he was merciful unto the father of Joseph, that he should perish not. Wherefore the remnant of the house of Joseph shall be built upon this land, and it shall be a land of their inheritance, and they shall be built up a holy city unto the Lord, like unto the Jerusalem of old. And they shall no more be confounded, until the end come, when the earth shall pass away. And there shall be a new heaven and a new earth, and they shall be like unto the old, save the old have passed away, and all things have become new. And then cometh the New Jerusalem, and blessed are they who dwell therein, for it is they whose garments are white through the blood of the Lamb, and they are they who are numbered among the remnants of the seed of Joseph, who were of the house of Israel. And then finally, and then also cometh the Jerusalem of old, and the inhabitants thereof, blessed are they, for they have been washed in the blood of the Lamb, and they are they who are scattered and gathered in from the four quarters of the earth, and from the north countries, and are partakers of the fulfilling of the covenant which God made with their father Abraham. And when these things come, bringeth to pass the scripture which saith, there are they who were first who shall be last, and there are they who were last who shall be first. Well, Ether makes it very clear that these are two very distinctly different cities we're referring to here. One in Israel, the Jerusalem of old, and one to be built in the choice land, a choice land above all other lands. Now, the term Zion and New Jerusalem both appear in the Bible. In the Old Testament, Zion is typically a synonym for the city of Jerusalem, and that would be the Jerusalem with the Temple Mount. The New Testament prophecies foretold that the Lord one day would create the heaven and the earth anew. A part of this new creation, a city of God, referred to as the New Jerusalem, would come down from God out of heaven. In Revelations chapter 21, verse 2, it says, and I, John, saw the holy city, even New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. Well, the book of Ether and Joseph Smith's early revelations speak of a future city of Zion, a New Jerusalem, that would serve as a gathering place for the scattered descendants of Israel in the last day. Beginning in 1831, the Latter-day Saints sought to establish a city of Zion where they could prepare for the second coming of Jesus Christ. In Doctrine and Covenants 57, verses 1 and 2, it says, Hearken, O ye elders of the church, saith the Lord your God, who have assembled yourselves together according to my commandment in this land, which is the land of Missouri, which is the land which I have appointed and consecrated for the gathering of the saints. Wherefore, this is the land of promise, and the place for the city of Zion. And thus saith the Lord your God, if you will receive wisdom, here is wisdom. Behold, the place which is called Independence is the center place, and a spot for the temple is lying westward upon a lot which is not far from the courthouse. In 1831, Joseph Smith received the revelation that the site for the city of Zion would be near the town of Independence in Jackson County, Missouri. Bishop Edward Partridge began to purchase land in the area and help for the settling of the new members of the church that were arriving and to secure the site for the temple. In the summer of 1833, Joseph Smith and his counselors in the First Presidency sought divine guidance as they drafted a plan for the city, which included a grid of roads and 24 civic and church structures, all consecrated as temples for different purposes. This is the only reference I've ever seen to what that New Jerusalem temple might someday look like. It's taken from Orson Pratt in the Journal of Discourses. But you may ask, in what form will it be built? Will it be built in one large room like this tabernacle? No, there will be 24 different compartments in the temple that will be built in Jackson County. The names of these compartments were given to us some 45 or 46 years ago. The names we still have. And when we build these 24 rooms in a circular form and arched over the center, we shall give the names to all these different compartments, just as the Lord specified through Joseph Smith. Isn't that interesting? Well, the Latter-day Saints today continue to hope for a return to Jackson County, but in January of 1841, revelations regarding the failed attempt to build the temple-centered Zion in Jackson County, the Lord then explained, it behooveth me to require no more the work to be done, but to accept their offerings. The same revelation commanded the saints to build a temple in Nauvoo and establish it for the city of gathering. In Latter-day Saints, as I said, we're still hoping the day will come that we'll return to Jackson County for the building of this New Jerusalem temple. So in summary, Ether talks about a New Jerusalem, a Zion to be built in the Promised Land. In D&C 57, we learned that this is the Promised Land, and in particular, the state of Missouri. We also learned that the New Jerusalem temple will be built as directed by the Lord in Independence, Missouri. Again, the Promised Land. All right, lastly, let me speak to the final Jaredite battle that took place where Coriantumr decapitates SHIZ. And Ether chapter 15, and it came to pass that when Coriantumr had leaned upon his sword, that he rested a little, and he smote off the head of SHIZ. And it came to pass that after he had smitten off the head of SHIZ, the SHIZ raised up on his hands and fell. And after that he had struggled for breath, he died. This is a rather gruesome thing, and a little bizarre and a little strange. This event has often been looked at by critics of the Book of Mormon as being a mythological or fabricated account of something that could never have happened. However, according to Gary Hatfield, professor of neuropathology at the University of Pennsylvania, this event could have happened just as Ether had told it. SHIZ's death struggle illustrates the classic reflex posture that occurs in both humans and animals when the upper brain stem is disconnected from the brain. The extensor muscles of the arms and legs contract, and this reflex action could cause SHIZ to raise up on his hands. Now, significantly, and this is kind of interesting, this nervous system phenomenon was first reported in when? 1898, long after the Book of Mormon was published and told of this rather gruesome incident in the Book of Mormon. Again, I want to reiterate that the Book of Mormon, that the Book of Ether in the Book of Mormon has some of the most, to me, the most fascinating and intriguing gems that are found anywhere in the Book of Mormon. I hope your scripture study of this book has been both faith-promoting and enlightening. I hope what we've talked about the last couple of times we've met has been a means of having you better understand some of these more unique things found in the Book of Ether. Now, the next time we meet will be the last time we'll meet this year in our podcast studying the Book of Mormon. We're reviewing the 10 chapters that comprise the Book of Moroni. Until then, keep your scriptures close, study them, and thank you again for joining us today.